we are just grateful that he's here tonight. So without any more me, I would like to introduce Bob D. from Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm Bob, I'm an alcoholic, and I've been sober since October 31st, 1978, without a drink or medication or anything, which is, a psychiatrist in the 70s, she told me, you're going to have to be taking something all your life, and I've taken nothing for all these over 45 and a half years. I have a sponsor who knows they're my sponsor. That's important. Because if your sponsor is not sure they're your sponsor, they're not. And I have a home group, and members of that, it's called Connect the Dots. We have 4 open meetings a week at different churches in the Las Vegas area, and we do 14 panels in the treatment centers. We are a 3 legacy group. We do tradition workshops. We do a lot of service. And we do big book step workshops, and we're just all in. We're not selective, we believe in the whole thing, the whole package here. And people in that group know it's my home group because I have a lot of jobs there. And I hope the jobs that you have in AA are the ones like the ones I have. They're inconvenient. Inconvenience has a lot of spiritual coinage here for selfish, self-serving, self-centered people like myself. So I hope if you're new here, I hope you're prepared to be divinely inconvenienced here. I want to thank the members of the committee. I've been on conference committees my whole sobriety, and I know why you do it. It's a labor of love. You do it because you want to serve AA, and there's a funny thing that happens here. The funny dynamic is those of us that are lucky enough to have sponsors that push us into service, no matter how inconvenient, a funny thing happens. You eventually will fall in love with anything you serve. Some of you know that for your children or your job. And you will stay in love with anything you continue to serve. And when I watch people leave AA, and they fall out of love with AA, it's because they fell out of service. And they became their own primary purpose. And this was no longer helping people, and serving AA was no longer their primary purpose. And that could happen to me. Anything that's ever happened to an alcoholic can happen to me. And it's only the actions I take every single day that seem to ward off the eventual destruction that sort of hovers around me at all times because of a chronic illness called alcoholism. I'm delighted to be here. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say because I want to thank our speakers, like the ones I've heard. I'm going to miss the one tomorrow morning because I have to go to the Cincinnati airport early in the morning. So unfortunately, but everyone I've heard today, everyone I've heard so far has been good, and it's Alcoholics Anonymous. Which I've been to conferences where some of the speakers they talk and you think, is this AA? I don't know. This is AA. And if you're new here, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. And is it Kim? Kim, the newest gal? Yes. Welcome. I mean, I don't know if you know where you've stepped into. This is the only organization on the planet that will give you a roaring applause and a gift for recently burning your life to the ground. You won't get that at the PTA, I'll tell you. Things are different here. It's the only organization I know of where you, like most of us, you come in a big shot, and if you're lucky, you work your way up to serve it. Because that's as high as you get here. In this program of self-reduction and self-forgetting, that I can be not so puffed up, you know. because I puff up by nature. I have that, it's just in me. I have that, the ego of a chronic alcoholic, and you can't kill it. It'd be nice if you could kill it. Everyone that I've ever heard say they finally got rid of it once and for all is dead. I mean, you don't get rid of it. But we take constant actions that are contrary to it and its tendencies. To stay small enough that I don't have to leave here. Small enough that I'm not a big shot here. Small enough that I can access God's grace. And that's an important thing. One of the other speakers was talking about the light. My wife says that all the time. She speaks some in AA. She's a good member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And she said you can watch a speaker and something happens. It's like their light comes on. And when that happens, it's no longer the person that's standing there. It's somebody else. And I say a little meditation, and I said it this morning, and I've said it intermittently for 40 some years. I don't even know where it came from. I don't remember. But it's simply, I am the place that God shines through. Him and I are one, not two. I need not worry, fret, or plan, for He wants me where and as I am. And if I can be relaxed and free, He'll carry out His plan through me. And that's kind of what I ask Him for in the prayer of St. Francis. Make me a channel. Work through me, because of myself. It's not good. It's not good. And so I said that. There's a song. I was just thinking about this morning. I hadn't thought about this before. There's a song I've come to really like a lot. It's by a band called Government Mule. It's called Soul Shine. And it says, soul shine, brighter than moonshine. It's better than sunshine. And it's goddamn better than rain. And they spell rain, R-E-I-G-N, like running the universe rain. And when I'm raining, there's no light in me. It's just, I'm full of Bob when I'm trying to control things and run the universe. And I've had great sponsorship in Alcoholics Anonymous. All my sponsors have had just wonderful, just dynamic senses of humor. I didn't know in the beginning that it was going to be around my stuff and my failures and my problems. I mean, how do sponsors get so much joy out of somebody's problems? I don't know how that happened. Oh my God. And they would just make goof on me, make fun of me. And you know what I've discovered? There's an old adage in Alcoholics Anonymous. You hear it, I still hear it to this day in meetings often. And it sounds really good. I mean, you could put it on a Hallmark card in a recovery bookstore. That's how good it sounds. And it's let us love you until you can finally love yourself. Isn't that beautiful? Except it's meaningless. I'm the black hole of love. You can't love me enough. If love would have fixed me, my mother and father would have fixed me. I had women that would have fixed me. If love was the answer, I would have had it years before. What I think really happens in Alcoholics Anonymous is let us make fun of you until you can finally make fun of yourself. Because when you can start making fun of yourself, it's evidentiary of some degree of freedom from the bondage of self. The word humility and the word humor come from the same root word. And I had great sponsors to get me to laugh at myself. God, I didn't want to. Because I'm one of those kind of guys. One of the symptoms of my alcoholism when I stop drinking, and I'm an alcoholic, take the alcohol away and I'm left with the ick. And one of the symptoms of the ick for me is it's serious. Everything's a big deal. I don't know what you're laughing at. It's just, people had said it. When I first came to AA, I came in 1971. I wasn't even old enough to take a legal drink. I didn't understand anything that was going on here. You were laughing at horrible stuff. And you were crying over things I thought were funny. I mean, it was backwards to me. But you had an awakening of consciousness that I did not have. And I couldn't see what you saw. And I couldn't hear what you heard. Because I was just full of me. And I didn't even know that. And I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I relapsed from 1971 to 1978. I was in and out of treatment center after treatment center. I got sober in jail a couple times. And I'm one of those kind of guys that baffles some people in AA. Because I'm the guy who can hit such a horrible, horrific bottom. You'd think he's never going to drink again. And 6-8 months later, I'm back at it again. And I don't understand it. And a lot of my parents didn't understand it. And a lot of the problem drinkers that aren't chronic in Alcoholics Anonymous, they don't understand it either. Because they'll say crazy things to you. We just don't drink no matter what. Yeah. I know. Don't lecture me. I get it. I got to not drink it. I'm killing myself here. I get that. But what I don't understand is in addition to this abnormal reaction to alcohol, I have an abnormal reaction to abstinence. And I don't know that everybody here does. Charlie, I used to run with Joe and Charlie, and Parley used to tell me, he said this a couple times. It startled me when he first said it. He said, I suspect that over 40% of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is not really chronic alcoholics. I thought, really? I'm thinking that might have been a low guesstimate. Because we all, you know the people. They come to AA, they just stop drinking, and they're wonderful. Don't you hate them? Oh my God. You stop drinking, they're happy, joyous, and free from the abstinence of alcohol. Well, I'm not that guy. I'm a chronic alcoholic. When I quit drinking, I get worse. I get weird. And I don't know I'm weird, because when I get weird, I don't think I'm weird, but I can see how you are. And I'm restless, I'm irritable, I'm discontent, I'm prone to depression. Feelings of not fitting anywhere. I don't know. I don't understand this world we live in. Because when I'm not drinking, there's like this thing that happens between me and life where life is over there and you're over there and I'm over here. And I can't get over there with you, and I want to. And the only thing that ever connected me to you and to life was alcohol. But late stage alcoholism is horrible because I'm chasing the ghosts of parties past. And the last 3 years I drank, the magic was gone. And I don't know what happened to it. I remember yelling out at one time and just said, what the hell happened to the party? Because I drink in depression. I drink in horrible feelings of loneliness. I can't even drink away the shame and the remorse and the guilt anymore. Alcohol was an effective medicine for me at one time, but not at the end. And I go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings because I'm kind of made to go here. It's funny, I don't really think I'm an alcoholic, and I have reasons why I don't think I'm an alcoholic. Yet, every time I end up drinking, I end up in a room where all the alcoholics are grouped. Right? You know what I mean? I don't get the connection there. And I don't think I'm an alcoholic because I sit in meetings and I am only capable of seeing the differences. I mean, capable and defended against the similarities. So I found a lot of differences. Alcohol, yeah. See, I suffer from depression. I suffer from anxiety to the point where of panic at times. I suffer from weird, I don't understand these feelings where I don't fit anywhere. I'm restless. You know that feeling like you just got to go. Go where? I don't know, but I got to go. I'm irritable, and I don't want to be irritable, and I won't admit that I'm irritable because irritable people irritate the crap out of me. I am not irritable. But I am very bright, and I can see the stupidity in you quickly. I don't suffer your stupidity well. And I'm one of those guys that walks around everywhere I go. I just see the stupid people everywhere. Oh my God, traffic, stupid people in traffic. Stupid people at work. They were nice when they hired me. Now that I'm there, now the people are stupid there. And then they make you go to these AA meetings where they have all the stupid people grouped in one room. Oh my God, AA was offensive to me. All this happy, clappy, grateful for everything. Oh my God, it's horrible. You ever recently burn your life to the ground? You want to kill yourself? You feel terribly depressed, and some yahoo in AA comes up to you and says, "Has anybody told you they love you today?" Oh, get away from... He's going to try to hug me. I know I'm going to punch him. I'm going to punch him. Get away from me. And all this God talk. Well, I come here, I'm an atheist. No, I'm not really an atheist. Because I've known some real atheists. You have to be very religious about your atheism to be a good atheist. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy who's scared. I'm scared that if there is a God, oh man, I'm in a lot of trouble. You know, they told me, when I was a kid, they told me about this God. It just seemed like what they were saying is that he existed to judge me. And he could see everything. He could see in the dark, which is not good for me. He could read my mind. Oh, no. Because I may not actually sin out here, but I'm sinning in here all the time. I'm just all the time. I mean, to this day, there are times when, God, just some of the stuff I think on a bad spiritual hair day, I'll be driving across town thinking, I'll kill them, I'll do her, I'll kill him, I haven't even done anything, I'm just driving, right? So when they said God's going to punish you for what you think, I thought, oh man, there can't be a God. This is a lose-lose situation. So I'm better off that there isn't one and hope that I'm right. Because if there is, it's a bad deal. See, I could see if there was a God, some of you people in AA, he'd probably help you. You were nice people. You were nice to me. But you don't understand. I'm stained in a way that you're not stained. I've done things that I don't hear people talking about in AA. I've done some scandalous, shameful, disgusting things to some really nice people. And so there can't be a God. So I took the position, because I'm that kind of guy. If I just suspect you don't like me, I'm going to not like you first. So I went like this with God. And then I defended that position. Isn't it funny? I get the kind of ego that once it comes up with something, it will defend it to my death. And my ego doesn't care. Doesn't care if what it's defending is so detrimental to me that it kills me. As long as after I'm dead, everybody goes, yeah, but Bob was right, you know. And I fit the old adage. People tried to help me. I fit the old adage. You can always tell an alcoholic, you just can't tell him much. I'm so full of me and my opinions and my judgments and what I believe and what I think I need and what I want. And I'm wrong about it all. And so I relapsed. And I burn my life to the ground again, and I end up in a detox or a jail or somewhere, and this happened to me so many times, and sometimes I'd be sobbing, swearing to myself, man, I'm never going to touch that stuff again, and I mean it. I tell you, honest to God, there were times when I said that to myself. I don't think a human being could mean it any more than I meant it at those moments of despair. And then to my horror, I'd be back at it within a couple of weeks or once or twice I got drunk the day I got out of detox or the day I got out of jail, where I'd sworn I would never do that again. So if you're new here, my great hope for you is also the hope I have for me, that none of us underestimate this sickness called alcoholism, and for God's sakes, we don't overestimate ourselves, because that's the fabric which our shrouds would be made out of. So I have alcoholism, but I don't know it. And people tried to tell me I was alcoholic. No, I'm not. There's a little evidence that when I drink, I get in trouble. Yeah. But I got so much other stuff wrong with me. And I stare at the differences and I don't connect with the similarities. And I had no idea that my disease worked through my ego and defended me against recovery. I had no idea that was happening. I just know I always sat here and didn't feel like I fit. I always sat here and picked you apart. I always sat here and made fun of you in my head. I always sat here and defended myself against what you're saying. And I didn't know that that's alcoholism. A disease, there's a great line in the book, it says, the alcoholic's problem lies mainly in his mind. I didn't know that I got the mind of a chronic alcoholic, and it's not recovery friendly. Matter of fact, it'll keep me out of here. And I didn't know what it was to be an alcoholic. I'll tell you when I say I'm an alcoholic today, I'm talking about three things. The first thing I'm telling you is that I had an obsession. And it wasn't with alcohol per se. It wasn't like an obsession with Jack Daniels. It was an obsession with an effect that I found when I drank. Because in the early days of my drinking, the effect produced by alcohol was, oh my God, it was amazing. I mean, here's a guy who grows up and he doesn't fit anywhere, and he has to pretend he's cool. He has to pretend he belongs. He has to pretend he's tough. He has to pretend he's not afraid. And I'm none of that, and I know it. And I'm always afraid that you're going to see through the facade I've created, because I want to enjoy that reputation. I want to look good, but I know I'm not what I'm telling you I am. And so the first time I ever drank, it was the first time in my life where I didn't feel like I had to pretend anymore. I remember I was with these older kids and we pulled a burglary. We broke into a house and we stole some bottles of whiskey. I didn't know nothing about it. I don't have alcoholics in my family. I know you hear it often. People talk about, I was traumatized as a kid and all that stuff. That's not my case. But alcoholism doesn't care about any of that. Alcoholics come from wonderful childhoods, and they come from childhoods that are like a bad episode of Criminal Minds. And it doesn't matter. It's funny how we try to tie those things together. And I was a therapist back in the 70s, and that was big then. Your alcoholism must be caused by this, right? I have an allergy to alcohol. I drink alcohol and something happens to me that only happens to alcoholics. Now, if you had an allergy to shellfish and you told somebody, I go on to the hospital, I can't do shellfish. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, you must have had a bad childhood. Nobody says that. I mean, you have an allergy to shellfish. Well, I have an allergy to alcohol. But my allergy is not like the one to shellfish. When I drink alcohol, something happens to me that I have no power over. As I feel the effect produced by alcohol, I'm overcome with this irresistible yearning for more. As if deep within the core of my being is some unrecognized switch. And alcohol throws that switch. It's the only thing that throws that switch. Drugs don't throw that switch. Alcohol throws that switch, and it's the got to have more switch. I was 10 years sober. I heard a speaker talk about drinking socially for a number of years, crossing over a line into alcoholism. I spent that whole evening thinking back through my drinking, looking for that time, there's got to be one time, where I'm out with some guy's basement, smoking dope, drinking wine, maybe in the bar with my buddies, doing shots and beers, shooting pool. And somebody after about an hour says, hey Bob, can I buy you another drink? When was the time when I looked at them and thought to myself, I'm good here, thanks. I couldn't find one time. Because every drink of alcohol I've ever taken in my life has made me feel like I'd like a little bit of more of that. And that's what it is to have this allergy to alcohol. It's insatiable. And if you can't get enough, you're condemned to have too much. And that's why there's no not burning my life to the ground. Alcohol is not my... Here, and treatment centers tell you some weird stuff. They ask you questions when you check in. What's your drug of choice? I don't know. What do you got? I broke open a magic marker in jail one time and huffed it, hoping something was going to happen. What they should ask is, what happens to you when you drink alcohol? Yeah, we know you have drugs. We have problems with these other drugs and your depression and jobs and money. Oh, yeah, you got a whole plethora of problems, Bob. But we need to define you and find out, do you have a fatal illness that manifests itself in all this other stuff? It's all part and parcel of the same sickness. How do you know if you have it? Well, our doctor's opinion, Sokworth says, this allergic reaction to alcohol, this phenomenon of craving, is what differentiates us and sets us apart as a distinct entity. It doesn't occur in non-alcoholics. I know a lot of drug addicts, horrible drug addicts, ruin their life. But they don't have the allergy to alcohol. They can drink. And I've talked to these people. They can have a drink. And the crazy thing about that is that they don't want to. There's something wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? The people who could drink and get away with it don't want to drink. Oh, I don't like the way it makes me feel. I like cocaine, or I like heroin. I was at a halfway house meeting many years ago, and the guy said something that was so funny, but it was so good. And I'm a chronic alcoholic, so I understood this. He said, he's new, and he says, well, I know I'm an alcoholic, but if I wasn't, I'd get drunk every night. Oh, you're my guy. Yeah, right. But only an alcoholic would think that. So, alcohol is not my drug of choice, it's my drug of no choice. You live a normal lifespan? You may, as I ended up in the hospital in a motorcycle accident when I was 17 years sober, you may end up in critical condition in a hospital and are forced to take morphine and survive that. And not go on a run and you don't have to steal your friends' television sets or nothing. But you don't have that choice with alcohol. In that emergency room, when I had that accident, I had broken every bone on this side of my body, and all my ribs were snapped, and I was in such pain. That doctor wanted to give me morphine. I said, I can't, doc. I'm sober 17 years at that time, and I was a heroin addict for a year and a half when I was a kid. I can't do that. And he said, kid, this is non-negotiable. We have to dumb this pain down, or you're not going to get better. You got too much dynamic tension between these broken ribs and your broken collarbone. We must dumb and so he hit me up with morphine, and it went right to the pain. And I got off of it before they wanted me to, because it started to talk to me a little bit. I switched to ibuprofen, which is against, they wanted me to stay on a little longer, but I don't, it's a little scary to me. But if that doctor would have come in and said, listen, kid, we're going to give you 4 shots of 100 proof vodka every 4 hours. The first time they gave me those 4 shots of vodka, I'd have been running out of the hospital with that gown flapping open in the back, trying to get to a liquor store. Because there's no choice for the alcoholic when it comes to alcohol. And I'm an alcoholic. But with this other part is, okay, I got this obsession with the effect. And I had the obsession with the effect produced by alcohol years past the point where I could get that effect. I'm chasing the ghosts of parties past. And it's demoralizing, it's depressing. And I get physically sober and I don't understand what's happening to me when I get sober. I'm restless and I'm irritable and I'm chronically discontent. I can't put it into words, but there's this vacancy inside of me. And I don't understand it. So I go into acquisition mode. You know what I need? If I had a Harley, if I had a fancy sport car, if I had that girl, if I had that job at J&L Steel, I get excited in the prospect of an acquisition that's going to change me. And here's the crazy part. The minute I get it, the shine starts wearing off on it. And I'm always the disappointed guy. I'm always the guy that feels let down again. I'm the guy who goes through life with a desperation. Every time I get sober, oh yeah, this is what I need, this is it. That's not it. Screw that. You know. Meet that girl, and you think that girl's going to change your life. She's amazing. 2 weeks later, God, was I wrong about her? Jesus. Because I'm restless, I'm irritable, and I'm discontent, chronically malcontent. And I don't know it. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so I drink. And I swear to myself I'm not going to drink, and I drink. And I drink when I'm on paper, and I'm facing one bad UA, one bad missed visit, I'm going to go to prison. And I drink anyway. I put it off. I get like, the difficulty and the uncomfortableness of abstinence. I can deal with that for a little while. I get like a mule in a hailstorm, just hunker down and take it. But eventually, I can't take it no more. And it's crazy. You know the crazy thing about that? I would often get to that point where if you were watching me, you'd think I was doing good. I often get to that point where I got the best job I've had in a long time. I got a girlfriend. I got a car. I got a place to live. I got everything I want. I got, except I don't want it anymore. And I don't understand what's wrong with me. And you know what happens when that happens? I get thirsty. My grant sponsor was a guy named Chuck Chamberlain, and Chuck said, Tom, I heard him say, I used to love to hear him talk. And Chuck said one time, he said, if you're an alcoholic and you don't surrender, you're eventually going to get to a place where you're going to run out of things that you can put between you and you. And there you are. And there you are. I hate that. I hate when I can't put anything between me and my own vacancies anymore. And I don't understand it. Because externally, looking at my life, you'd think Bob's doing good, but not in here, not where I really live. When they say my life's unmanageable, I thought they meant out here. No, what's really unmanageable is in here. And that's what I can't seem to control or ward off. So I drink again. In 1978, I was sentenced to 2 years in the state penitentiary. I came to in Beaver County Jail, which is another bright spot in my life. And I can't get out. I can't get, nobody will take my calls. I've done that to myself. You know, I had a mother and father that loved me, spent a fortune on therapists, and they were good to me. But I broke their hearts so many times, they couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't have anything to do with me anymore. I had girlfriends that won't have anything to do with me. I had buddies that are done with me. And I'm totally alone, and they give me a phone call, and there's nobody to call. And I kind of, in the midst of that, I knew I did that. Did I mean to do it? No. Did I intend to do it? No. Did I do it? Yeah, I did that. And so I go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in the prison, and I didn't go for recovery. I'd been to 150 meetings probably by this time in institutions. They got nothing from me. I went for cigarettes because I knew the people bringing the AA meeting into the county jail were going to have cigarettes. And I went there and I didn't hear nothing. And this guy Woody, he used to bring meetings into Gateway, and he brought meetings into Mika's house and St. John's and St. Frank. All these places I ended up. He was he was an H&I guy before they had H&I. And he brought meetings in there, and he was just. You know, I have my little plans, and first of all, he really aggravated me because he's got a lot of money. He's got a big job. He's a boss at J&L, big money. And I want him to put his, he says he wants to help. I want him to put his house up so I can get out on bail. And these people in AA are hypocrites. They say they want to help you until you explain it to them. And he wants to give me a book and help me with some stairs or something. I don't know. I don't want a book. I need outing. I need a drink is what I got to. I need a drink. And I didn't. I just walked away from him because he said, I told him, I said, I'm going to get out. I'm going to beat this. I'm like one of those cars that don't start. I'm going to. All my little plans and designs. I'm going to. And he said, kid, you're not going to do any of that. He said, you're going to be dead before the year's out. Boy, he pissed me off. If I'd have known about GSO, I think I would have reported him for that, for saying that. I mean, no AA love in that, for God's sakes. But he was right. I got sentenced to 2 years, and the judge cut me a break, and he didn't carry out the sentence. He stayed the commitment, and he put me in a place called the Ark House, which, of all the treatment centers I was ever in, this isn't even a treatment center. This is the bottom of the food chain for treatment. I was in a room with about 10 guys in bunk beds. All you could smell was ass and feet. One of those places, one of those off the street homeless guy. One of those places. And I'm in there, and it's horrible. But so am I. And somewhere there's a rightness when your insides match your outsides and your environment. It's horrible. But there's a rightness about that, And I'm trying not to drink because I can't. I'll go to prison for 2 years. And I can't take it. And I drink. I thought I could just get away with it, sneak it just one night. I'm the guy, I pick up a drink. The phenomenon of craving has always been so strong in me that if I pick up a drink, I can't stop. And everybody's going to know in short order that I'm messed up. And besides that, when something happens, it inflames my ego to such a way that when I get drunk, I just realize that I need to talk to the counselors about things they're not doing right. You know what I mean? That's not a good idea. I got thrown out of there, and I'm living in the park on the north side of Pittsburgh. And I don't even know how long I was in that park. I suspect it must have been 10 days to 2 weeks because I'm getting to that place where I'm sick. And I shake uncontrollably. I got sores that don't heal, and my teeth, my gums bleed because I don't eat. I'm not against eating. You give me if I can panhandle a couple of dollars, you give me a choice between a half gallon of Richard's Wild Irish Rose and McDonald's. McDonald's is never going to win that. Because I need the medicine desperately. The food, I'll live without the food. But if you do that for a while, you just drink that cheap wine, you don't eat, you get in bad shape. I was in bad shape. And I come to one morning, or afternoon, I don't even know what time of day it was. I'm on this park bench. And I'm sick. And I'm sitting there, I'm grabbing myself, and I'm rocking back and forth like I want to jump out of my skin. And I don't know what's wrong with me. And this doctor the previous year in a treatment center, a doctor gave me a complete physical, and he told me something. I got him to give me the physical because I thought I had a brain tumor. I hoped I had a brain tumor. It would have explained my life, the blackouts, the emotional craziness. He came back to me and said, you don't have a brain tumor? What you got, kid, is alcoholism. You keep drinking, it's going to kill you, but you're young. I was in my 20s. He said, it might take 5 more years. On that park bench, I thought about that. About 5 more years. And this party had turned on me so horrifically that it was miserable. And yet I get physically sober and I'm miserable. I feel like I'm doing time. And I am in a trap I can't spring. Drinking has become pathetic and depressing and lonely and horrible, and abstinence is not a whole lot better. So I thought about what that doctor said, and I said, I can't do 5 more. I can't do 5 more weeks or days of this, and I made up my mind to kill myself. And I felt better. Isn't it odd that I actually felt the idea of killing myself gave me hope? Because maybe that's what I'm an oblivion drinker. It's just all about blotting me out. Maybe death is the ultimate blot Bob out that I've been looking for without even realizing it for all this time. I went to a bridge, killed myself, and I couldn't do it. And through a bizarre series of circumstances, I ended up trying to go to California so I could survive the coming winter. And I never made it to California. I ended up in a detox in Las Vegas. And the Buddhists say when the student's ready, the teachers appear. And I met a man in there I think we were brought together by divine appointment. He was the first guy in Las Vegas to take meetings into places like that. Before there was an H&I committee. He'd been a past delegate. He'd been one of the guys that started the AA convention and the retreat in Las Vegas. He was the guy who just said yes and proactively looked for opportunities to serve. And he was my guy. And I was so scared, I went up to him and I did something I never would have done before. I begged him to sponsor me. I said, if you would just sponsor me, and if you will, I'll do anything you ask me to do, never knowing how much stuff that would be. I mean, oh my God. I mean, if he wanted me to do things, and I did it. I did everything he asked me to do, but there were a couple times I had to inform him of things because I thought, well, he can't see this properly. He wanted me to pray. I said, I can't pray. He said, why not? I said, because I don't believe in God. He said, I didn't ask you to believe in God, I asked you to pray. I said, well, if I pray and I don't believe in God, I'd be a hypocrite. He said, oh, we think you've been a hypocrite all your life. Just do it. He wanted me to turn myself into my PO in the courts in Pennsylvania and offer to go back and do 2 years. And I'm thinking, oh, no, I don't jail well. I don't want to do that. And he walked me through how to do it, to write a letter. He told me what to put in the letter. He told me to tell him in the letter, to my PO, I'll call him and give him 10 days. I'll call him. And I did what he said. And it was truly, it was the first time in my life I ever listened to someone else that gave me directions that I do not want to do. And I do not agree with this. And I think this is horrible. But surrendered people follow directions. Surrendered people don't defend themselves anymore. Surrendered people just wait for somebody to tell them what to do. And I did it. And I didn't have to do the prison time. Matter of fact, my PO got on the phone. I didn't know him. He had no reason to go to bat for me except he got your letter. And he said, I talked to our supervisor, we talked to the court, so you don't have to come back and do the 2 years, but we're going to transfer your case to Las Vegas. You're going to have to send us money because I owed a bunch of money. And you're going to have to go probably get urinalysis tests for a while, and you're going to have to report to a guy once a week. And it was all stuff I'm willing to do. I can do all this. It was easy. And it was the first time, it was the beginning of exercising an unused, atrophied muscle in me. It's the trust muscle. See, I never trust. Self-reliant, self-centered, self-serving people. We don't trust nobody. Here's the sad part about that. I trust my own thinking, which is crazy. I'd be better off listening to somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson than listening to my head. But it was the first time in my life I ever listened to you. I listened to the sponsor and I did what he said. I didn't want to, but I did it. And I got off the hook and I got free, which years later, and I followed those directions, and years later it put me in a position that I wouldn't have been in if I hadn't followed my sponsor's direction, where I stood before the Nevada Gaming Control Board and was given one of the most prestigious licenses in the world, the license to be an owner-operator of gaming facilities in Las Vegas. It's like a license to print money. And I stood there in front of this board, this very important group of people, politicians. I almost started to cry because I knew the truth. I'm not here because of me. I'm here because of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm here because I got broken enough and demoralized enough until I couldn't even trust my own thinking anymore, and I got a sponsor and I started trusting his. And that's why I'm here. And that's my whole sobriety. Everything good that's happened in my sobriety comes from the grace of a God that works through the people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've had some problems in my sobriety. And if you send a CSI team into the problem areas, you're only going to find my DNA and my fingerprints. You're not going to find anybody else's. It's not going to find God's in there. You're going to find mine. The book says we make our own misery. And I do. That's why the great thing about the third step, the great thing about having a sponsor, isn't that you turn your will over to the care of God or your sponsor. You're just willing to get it out of the hands of the idiot that's been sticking it to you for years. And my life started to change from the moment I got a sponsor. And I started going through those steps, and my sponsor was a fanatic about service. He was, this was before the Big Book consciousness. I watched that evolve in AA. I watched when, after the 1980 International, the tapes started circulating of Joe and Charlie that Wesley Parrish distributed 100 copies around the world. And within a year or so, Joe and Charlie was everywhere. But before that, there was no Big Book consciousness. I remember the first time, late 1980, I'm listening to my first Joe and Charlie. I'm thinking, and my home group was a Big Book group. I'm listening to them thinking, what the hell book are they talking about? Because they're shining a light on stuff that nobody ever talked about. And my sponsor and the old timers at that time, they had something that maybe is more important than the information. They had the spirit, the altruistic spirit of Alcoholics Anonymous. They believed 100% in service and helping others. They knew what their primary purpose was, and it wasn't them. They believed in the 12 traditions. They believed in amends. My sponsor, amends was non-negotiable. I could go to a meeting and have some guy say, my sponsor said I didn't have to pay that back. I'd go to my sponsor and say, I don't care what they say, you got to pay that back. All non-negotiable. And he believed in the power of God. And he wanted me to start turning my consciousness towards this power. And he wanted me to help others, and he wanted me to start making amends from the very beginning. And I remember he's pushing me. He wants me to be one of the guys that goes with him into the detox. He wants me to sign up for the meetings at the state penitentiary that they were going to start. He wanted me to be the guy who took the meetings in the reality house. Every time I turn around, he said, help people, help people, help people, help. Jesus, he's like a one-track thing. So I reached into my old bag of therapy. I pulled out something to show it to him, thought maybe he'd change his mind. I said, well, I know what you're saying, but don't you think I should work on me for a while? And when I said that, he looked like he bit into a lemon. He really begged to work on you. You've done quite enough of that. Stop it. And when he said that, I thought, well, yeah, I was hypnotized. I primal screamed. I did transactional analysis, primal therapy. I did Gestalt therapy. I did rational and motive therapy in New York with Ellis. If I could have been fixed, I'd have been fixed by now. And all that stuff, I just got worse and worse and worse. So I was sitting in a meeting, and I'm fairly new, and they're reading how it works, and they get to that, probably no human power could relieve our alcoholism. I thought, boy, you got that right. Because I had tried everything. If it popped up on the radar and it even had the earmarks of something that would make me feel better or happier or satisfied or anything good for me, I took a run at it. Because my grand obsession is me. I'm obsessively self-concerned. It's the bane of alcohol, of a chronic alcoholic. I'm obsessively I came here, you started talking about having a primary purpose of helping people. I already got a primary purpose. It's me. And you want me to give that one up and take yours. And you know why guys like me do that? Because it hurts too much to continue what I'm doing. I think one of the things I love about Alcoholics Anonymous, it's not ethereal, it's pragmatic and practical spirituality. It's spirituality that works. There's a line in our book that says, this is the way to a faith that works. And it really is. I mean, we don't do stuff in AA because we just want to be a good guy or so we can talk about it. We do it because it works. And I never understood what I was up against until I started getting into the solution. And I remember I started going on a lot of 12-step calls, and I started sponsoring people. I was really new to be sponsoring people. Some of those guys are still sober, and they're sober a long time. Not because I did anything great. I just happened to be a vehicle. You know, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to a lot of meetings, and I'm praying, and I'm just saying, do what I do. I don't know what to do. Do what I do. Just come with me. And we used to run in a pack of guys. So we'd go to like 20 meetings a week. I'd go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. And a lot of those guys that came along for that ride are still sober today. And what they were demonstrating something. And I think a lot of what we do here is not what we think, it's not what we believe, it's what we do. And they started taking the actions of someone who was willing to completely give themselves to this simple program. You know, I remember sitting in a meeting and they were reading how it works, and they got to that point. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. I started thinking about that, and I thought, oh my God, why couldn't I see it? That's why I relapsed for all those years. Because I give myself completely to Bob's program of self-gratification. And I never was part of yours. And when I started to make AA the center of my life started to change. And it's been dynamic. It's unbelievable, really. You know, alcoholism is a funny disease. It never leaves you completely. I mean, you get better. I mean, there are days, contingent on my spiritual condition, there are days when I don't even really feel that alcoholic. And then there are other days where I better go to another meeting. You know, there's those days, right? We all have it. It's up and down. Contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. But non-alcoholics don't have that reaction to abstinence, that reaction to life that I have. My daughter, who's made me a grandfather just 2.5 years ago, my grandson is amazing. He's just the most handsome kid you've ever seen, and he looks just like me. And she is one of the most well-adjusted people I've ever met. You know, our book says a couple things that we're different and we're going to be different. Yet it's hard to pinpoint. It says we're bodily and mentally different from our fellows. In chapter 5 it says that the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot, though he usually doesn't think so. You ever been in the middle of a self-will run riot binge and stopped in the middle of it and goes, I think I'm self-will run riot. I don't think so. My daughter's not like that. She gets emotions. She has problems. I remember years ago, before she got married to the guy she's with today, who I really like. She was dating a guy who I didn't really like. But I never said anything, because if she likes him, I like him. And I really worked hard at being a good dad. And he cheats on her. I knew he was going to too. He's a player. I knew it. Cheated on her, broke her heart. So I had dinner with her. Right? We're sitting in this restaurant, and she's telling me about it. And I said, oh, sweetheart, it's going to be all right. You're going to get through this. And I said stupid things because I missed the class where they taught you how to be a dad. I missed that class. So I'm saying stupid things to her, like, well, probably have to kiss a lot of frogs before you meet your prince. I don't even know what I'm saying. You know, I'm just saying, I love her. I want her to feel better. That's all. Well, I'd go home that night. I'm having a date with her. We usually have dinner and sometimes dinner and a movie once a week. And I met her in this restaurant. She's sitting in the booth. I slide in. I'm excited to see her because I know she's going through a tough patch of road. So I slide in. I said, Kate, how's it going? She goes, oh, it's going good, kid. Good, Dad. I thought, God, she's so brave. I said, Kate, with the breakup and everything. Oh, she said, it's all right, Dad. She said, I'm going out with another guy next week, and you can't hang on to that stuff. You got to move on. And I'm looking at her. I said, Kate, you can't possibly be done with that yet. I would have taken 20 AA groups hostage with that problem. I would have made my sponsors' eyes glaze over. I would have wrung every bit of drama and juice out of that that's possible. Because I'm an extreme example of what self wants, a self-will run riot. My daughter, she just has some of that, but not like I do. She's not willing to take the painful, self-torturing ride about stuff like that I'm, not only do I want to take it, I have to take it. Because I'm an extreme example of self-will run riot. My sponsor, or my daughter rather, she just lets go and goes on. That is a level of emotional maturity that's inconceivable to me, really. But I'm an alcoholic. And alcoholics have everything on steroids. And so I've learned to live with this thing called alcoholism, and I have structure. And I didn't realize how important structure is in my life. I have a routine. I get up, I do 2 hours in the morning before I leave the house, before I do anything. I'll do that tomorrow morning before I leave for the airport. I have a sponsor, and I have a routine of talking to my sponsor on a regular basis. I have a home group with commitments and responsibilities there that are important to me. And I show up there. And I serve. I go on 12-step calls. I have panels. I've had a minimum of 2 panels into detoxes and treatment centers and jails, 2 a week for over 45 and a half years. I don't do that because I'm a nice guy. I do that because of all the things AA has given me, that seems to be one of the most effective ways to really help me with my primary problem. And my primary problem is the bondage of self. And I tell you, there have been times in my sobriety going through a divorce. There were times in my sobriety where I got ripped off for $250,000, where I've had reversals, I've had success. And I think success is more dangerous than reversals. Because success will give you that thing where you'll think, yeah, I got this. It's a bad deal. And I've gone to those meetings down at that detox. Doesn't matter what's going on in my life, it's better coming out the backside. I feel freer coming out the backside of that meeting because there's only one freedom, and it contains all freedoms, and that's the freedom of the bondage of self. About a dozen years ago, I guess, I had a sponsee in California who took a meeting into one of the maximum security penitentiaries in the Central Coast. And he asked me, I was down in LA doing some stuff, and he said, would you go with me up there and be a speaker at this prison? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And he sent my stuff in to the guy. And we're driving up there. It was almost a 2-hour drive up there. We get there, we had to go through all the layers of security. And this place was amazing. Do you ever, when you walk into a really good meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can feel it. You can feel it. I love going. I get to my home group an hour and 15 minutes before it starts to stand at the door as a greeter because I want to feel the buzz as the bees return to the hive. You know what I'm saying? I want to feel that, and I love that. Well, I walk into this prison. We're walking down this hall, and I can feel it, and I can hear hear the chatter of enthusiasm from people who are enthusiastic about their sobriety. We get into the room there, everybody's greeters, big line of greeters. And my buddy, who comes there regularly, he knows a lot of the guys, inmates in there. And this is the prison where the people with multiple life sentences end up here. These are guys that will never get out of prison. They're there, period. And he's pointing people out. He said, oh, that guy back there, he's got 2 life sentences. He'll never get out. You see that guy sitting next to him, he just got out of the fish tank. He's a new guy. He's reading the doctor's opinion to it, probably. And they're laughing. And they're carrying on. And those guys over there, they're sitting around, they're in a circle, and they've got a new guy in that circle. And they're laughing and carrying on. And I come from a meeting earlier that week in Las Vegas in a suburban area. Now this is a place where people have multi-million-dollar homes, where the parking lot is full of Porsches and Jaguars and Mercedes and BMWs. People that have the life. And I'm in that noon meeting and everybody's whining about something. And I'm in that prison and I'm thinking, my God, these people that will never get out of jail are freer than the people with the multi-million-dollar homes and the fancy cars that I just went to a meeting with earlier this week. Because there's only one freedom and it means anything. If you don't got that, you don't have nothing. And people, alcoholics of my type, commit suicide in $15 million homes. Because if you don't have that freedom, you don't have anything of any value. So I want to welcome you if you're new. I'm glad you're here. Alcoholics Anonymous, I know it doesn't look like it, but truly it is a treatment that is more effective for the thing that's secretly wrong with you that drives you into depression. It drives you back to drinking. Alcoholics Anonymous has a remedy for that. And it never fails. If you'll put yourself in the middle of it, and you'll take the actions, because it's an action program. We get labeled with weird stuff. I mean, like, people say, oh, it's a faith-based program. Nah, it's not a faith-based program. It's an action-based program. We don't care what you believe. We just want you to believe something other than you. And I've been to meetings in India where everybody in the room, sober, some of them sober 30-some years, were all Hindus. And they worked the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and they had an awakening. They're better Hindus. They're better fathers. They're better husbands. They're better people as a result of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've done the same thing in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, where everybody in the room's a Muslim. And they work the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I come here with my Christian background, and I come here thinking, well, there's no God, and then when there is a God, it must be that God. And how small-minded I was. I get to see evidence of God in people who don't believe the things that we grew up with. Because God's big enough to help all his kids. He's big enough. And every time I see something like that, I'm just overwhelmed with how lucky I am. And in 1978, I couldn't kill myself because I'd have killed the guy. I'd have killed the guy that was about to be given the best life he's ever known. And I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and I start helping people. I get a sponsor, I get a home group, I get commitments. And I'll tell you this one little story and I'll end. When I was about 9 years sober, I was asked, it was either the first or the second time I was ever asked to speak at a speaker meeting outside of Vegas. And it was very uncomfortable. And I went and I did the best job I could, and I had this guy who was my host, and he wants to show me around. It was called Eureka, California. It's the northern coast. Well, he takes me to a place called the Avenue of the Giants. I'd never seen anything like it. They had trees 250 feet high, 25 feet in diameter. It's like Jurassic Park. I said, this is amazing. And we're walking around for a while. He says, come on, get in the truck. He said, I want to take you down to the coast where there's these rock monoliths that come up out of the ocean 200 feet high. They're amazing. I said, oh, okay. I get in the truck, we're driving along, we're going by meadows and fields, and he says to me, do you see how you don't see a 250-foot tree all by itself in a field? I said, yeah. He said, you know why that is? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, God has created these trees in such a manner that they cannot grow up alone. They will literally outgrow their roots capacity to hold themselves up, and they will topple over and die on their own aspired magnificence. What must happen is that they must grow up in community, and they literally will intertwine the roots below the floor of the forest into a big net, and that allows them to support each other, hold each other up, and feed each other. And that allows them to grow into their nature. I've had something wrong with me as far back as I can remember. There's something about me that's dissatisfied. There's something about me that yearns for more, that wants to take bigger bites out of life. And it almost killed me. And then I came to you, and I got a sponsor, and I got a home group, and I started this process of self-reduction and self-diminishment to be a servant. And I didn't know that you would allow me to grow into my nature. And what I am today, good, bad, or indifferent, is I'm God's present version of Bob. It's the best version I've ever known. Not perfect, but I'll take it. And if it's gotten this good so far, what's ahead? My sponsor gave me goosebumps one day. I told him I was sober a long time, and I said, I had millions of dollars in the bank, I had a big house, I had everything I ever wanted. And I said, if it never gets any better than this, I'm satisfied. And you know what he said to me? He quoted the book. He said, the most satisfactory years of your existence still lie ahead. And I got goosebumps. And he was right. So if you're new here, welcome. I hope you're sick enough with yourself. I hope your ego is not blooming as it has a tendency to do when you quit drinking. I hope you can get small enough to join us. Thank you for listening.
What a magnificent evening, huh? And what a way to explain alcoholism to all of us. It's just absolutely so truthful, and the ego can always get us in trouble, can it? It's to come here galvanized in grandiosity and protected by an ego that will never let us see the truth. Bob, thank you very, very much for tonight. Let's close this with the Lord's Prayer. Who's Father? Our Father, who art in heaven,